Hello and namaste. Welcome to the JNMA podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with experts in the field of medicine, public health, and research. I am your host, Lishasha, and today we have a special guest, Dr. Amit Kumar Singh. He's a consultant surgeon and has more than 4 years of experience working for UN agencies as health emergency officer. Dr. Amit has recently penned a thought provoking viewpoint on alternate care sites, highlighting a noble concept in Nepal during disaster and public health emergency. Dr. Amit, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Lishasha. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you so much.
So let's dive right in. To start off, could you explain what alternate care sites are and why they are important?
Uh, First of all, I'm very excited that JNMA has given this opportunity to share something on my recent viewpoint, which is published in August edition of the show. Thank you, JNMA, and thank you, Lishasha, for this opportunity. Now, addressing your question, when we say alternate care site, so these are actually temporary healthcare facilities. By saying
Mhm.
temporary, I mean to say it can be a second hospital, a fixed structure like schools, stadiums, or community centers, or even a free space that can be established to manage patients' care during time of significant health care system strain. We see those during the disasters or public health emergencies or mass casualty events. So these alternate care sites are typically set outside the traditional healthcare settings, and pre-identification of ACS is a part of contingency planning. Now, going to your second questions, that is, why is it important in context of Nepal? So there are lots of benefit of having a predetermined alternate care sites, and its awareness among the hospital is also very, very important.
Mhm.
Same, it should be aware with the policymakers as well. But before that, we all need to know the healthcare system of Nepal.
Mm.
So first, I would say, as we all know, Nepal is a disaster-prone geography. We know Nepal is highly vulnerable to natural disasters like earthquake, floods, and landslides. These things are very prone in our country. And the
Mm.
country, mountainous terrain, and limited infrastructure make it more challenging because we all have faced this when we are doing this humanitarian responses or any clinical responses. We know the difficulties what we are facing in Nepal. The timely
Mhm.
response is difficult, and quick transfer to the unaffected healthcare facilities during disasters becomes near to impossible
Mm.
because of these all difficulties.
Mm.
And the second is the system strain uh, during large-scale public emergencies, as witnessed during 2015 earthquake and COVID-19 pandemic. We know we have all seen Nepal's healthcare system, which can be overwhelmed. Just to encounter these all major issues, I think this identification plays a huge role. By doing
Mm.
this, we can ensure that strategy and precautions are not only taken when disaster strikes, but much more before the event is actually happening. So that's why this AGS actually gives the flexibility and scalability in terms of location and capacity, which ultimately strengthens the community resilience. So,
Mm.
to summarize, we can say that the alternate care sites is a vital component of disaster and emergency preparedness in Nepal.
Mhm.
We can also say that they provide a flexible, scalable, and rapid response solution that is crucial for ensuring a continuous healthcare delivery in face of the country's unique challenges. So these are the few things that I think is very important in context of Nepal. Yeah.
Mm. That's really insightful, Dr. Amit. So, alternate care sites play a vital role in disaster and public health emergencies. So, moving to the next question, what inspired you to write this viewpoint on alternate care sites in Nepal? Like, was there a specific event or observation that sparked your interest, Dr. Amit?
Uh, yes, actually, this is really something that I would like to share.
Mm-hmm.
because these are the things which we could not write while preparing this viewpoint in the journal.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2015 earthquake when I personally inclined towards serving in the sector of wider humanitarian response rather than
Mm-hmm.
limiting to a single hospital setting.
Mm-hmm.
So the inspiration to write this viewpoint on alternate care site in Nepal came from my this first-hand experiences during the multiple public health emergencies and disaster in the country that I have witnessed. So over the
Mm-hmm.
years, working as a healthcare professional and also the emergency responders, I have witnessed the significant challenges that arise when a healthcare system is overwhelmed. So I would like to share an incident. What actually struck me is
Mm-hmm.
during the earthquake response, I was working in a Dhulikhel hospital, where
Mm-hmm.
with support of Maltese International, Dhulikhel
Mm-hmm.
Hospital established a field hospital in Sindipalchok that was a Lamu Sangu. So to
Mm-hmm.
find a place where which could be used for the field hospital wasn't easy. It took us huge effort to find a space which could be used for setting up a field hospital. But finally,
Mm-hmm.
with the support of Nepal Army, we got the space, but we got it in the third week after the disaster, which was, I personally felt it was too late to set up a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It was then when I realized this should have been done prior to disaster as a part of preparedness. See, we could have identified spaces before the disaster strikes, but we didn't do it. When disaster came, it was like it took us 3 weeks to just find a space where we could just build a field hospital. If the main health
Mm-hmm.
facility in Lamusang had pre-identified the alternate care site, the health setup could be established in the couple of days, and people wouldn't be suffering. So this
Mm-hmm.
highlighted the need of flexible alternative solutions to ensure continuous medical support during such crisis. And same, I
Mm-hmm.
think we all experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic, further exposed the vulnerabilities in our healthcare system. As hospitals reached the capacity, it became clear that there was an urgent need for scalable solutions like SCS to
Mm-hmm.
manage patients overflow and to segregate COVID-19 patients as well. Because at that time, we were like, oh, now where to put the this infected patients. So if
Mm-hmm.
alternate care sites were identified, it would be easy. What happened in many countries that they had identified spaces and they could manage COVID-19 well. However, we did it good towards the end, but then
Mm-hmm.
at that time also I got like, oh, we should have discussion on this. So to add on this, Nepal's unique geographical challenges and limited healthcare infrastructures, global best practices, my personal experiences, my
Mm-hmm.
observed gaps in healthcare systems, and my desire to contribute to a country's preparedness effort. These are the things that inspired me to write this viewpoint.
So, yeah, I can see how those experiences would drive you to explore this topic further. So, moving towards the
Yeah.
next question, how long did it take from the conceptualization of this content to the finalization of the write-up of this particular viewpoint?
See, one thing is that these viewpoints are different from the other journal articles or other journal publications. Uh, what I felt is it doesn't require data collections or specific methodologies or IC approvals, data analysis, and that depth. That's making it different from the other publications that we do. But even though while writing this viewpoint, I had this issue regarding this viewpoint since 2015 response gather
Mm,
more information and knowledge during COVID-19 pandemic response. And then further, since I have been working with Ministry of Health for last 4 years in close collaborations in this disaster preparedness, so these all added to depth information regarding this issue. However,
mm,
uh, these all were initiated in 2015, but typically while framing or writing this viewpoint, it actually the writing portion only doesn't take time, but it has a long processes that goes through to prepare a viewpoint.
mhm. So it's evident that a lot of thought and effort went into this piece. So, what efforts did you put into understanding the novelty factor of this write-up, Dr. Amit?
See, as I said earlier, the viewpoint comes as a result of my personal experience that I have witnessed how the healthcare system becomes overwhelmed during
Mm.
the disaster and public health emergencies, and what are the situations that come across, because these are my first hand experience, what I have experienced since 2015. Because
Mm.
then I started to see a broader aspect of humanitarian response. Because
Mm.
then it's 2015 earthquake that I started to have more interest or inclination towards the humanitarian response and the observed gaps in the health system. Because there are lots, if we see the healthcare system of Nepal, we can see there are gaps in the healthcare system and desire to promote the health service delivery in Nepal. So
Mm.
the result of this viewpoint came into action. However, in-depth literature review was important. I had to undergo and see what are the other countries or developed countries or developing countries who are using these terms, and are they really preparing for this alternate care sites in their disaster preparedness or not. So I had to see the gap analysis, field experiences, and and the conceptual relations in Nepal context was also one of the very important steps that I had to take into
Mm.
consideration. Because see, when we talk
Mhm.
about alternate care site, we have to understand that a hospital
Mm.
suppose gets collapsed, and we are
Mhm.
saying that we need to have a alternate hospital by the previous hospital so that we
Mhm.
can give services. That's not easy, because to have a second hospital in context of Nepal is not easy. So it
Mm.
has to be contextualized in sense of Nepal. In Nepal, we what we aim is like we need to identify the alternate care sites, which I have mentioned in the viewpoint as well. But it
Mhm.
can't be the same as hospital, as big hospital as it is. Like for
Mm.
example, I would like to mention, like for Beer Hospital, if it
Mhm.
gets collapsed.
Mm.
So, can we build a second Beer Hospital within a week or two? No, that's not possible. But at least
Mm.
we can have a space identified. Like suppose Turikel is identified. So at least we can give some primary health services, or let's say we can give the health services that cannot be stopped from the
Mm.
Turikel area. So it
Mm.
has to be contextualized as well. So
Mhm.
yes, there are lots of effort behind this viewpoint,
Mhm.
and of course, I would like to at the same point I would like to acknowledge different experts that I had a consultation with regarding these issues as well.
Yeah, that's a thorough approach. So now moving to the next question, though we have already discussed this to some extent, is there anything more you would like to add about how you assess the relevance of this viewpoint for Nepal's healthcare system?
Yeah, see, the concept of this ACS has been practiced globally, and it has been a huge success as well. The
Mm.
importance of ACS has been highlighted after the massive earthquake in Turkey in 1999, Hurricane
Mhm.
Katrina, 9/11 incidents, 2015 earthquake in Nepal, global COVID
Mm.
19 pandemic response, and even during the recent Jajalpur earthquake response in 2023 in Nepal as well. So we have
Mm.
been talking about this ACS, though it's not so commonly used the word, but we have been practicing some alternate care sites during our real life. So the
Mhm.
relevance of this study would be justified when the discussion on this topic starts. And then it could be taken further to get incorporated in hospital disaster preparedness and response plan of all the hospitals in Nepal. So I'm open to discussion and suggestions on this so that we can better prepare our country for disaster and
Mhm.
public health emergencies. Yeah.
So moving towards my next question. While viewpoints may not hold the highest level of evidence in medical research, they are still vital for advancing medical practice and policy by exploring new ideas and solutions. So, in your opinion, why do you think it's important for professionals to write and share viewpoints on topic like this?
Yeah, see, this is very important.
Mm.
Actually, it's high time we use our more of resources and preparedness to minimize the investment during the response. So,
Mm.
what it is said is the more you sweat during the peace, the less you bleed during the war. So,
Mm.
what actually is like we? It's high time we spend more time in preparedness. See, these viewpoints can support in raising awareness of critical issues,
Mm.
support in advocating for policy change, provide a
Mhm.
platform for innovation, enhance professional and public understanding, and
Mhm.
contribute to long-term resilience of the community. like people
Mm-hmm.
like us who goes to the root level, who goes to the field level, experiences the real situations, should actually take an effort to express their views, because once these views come out, then the awareness of these critical issues is actually discussed. So thus, I would like
Mm-hmm.
to encourage those with field experiences to initiate discussion on important critical issues in context of Nepal. This is how I think we can build stronger.
Mm-hmm. Your perspective is really invaluable, Dr. Amit. Finally, for those who might be listening and considering writing a viewpoint themselves, what would you recommend? Any tips or advice that you would like to give?
See, in fact, I'm not that experienced in writing a viewpoint as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would like to
Mm-hmm.
suggest to those who want to write a viewpoint that first be prepared for the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Anticipating a criticism and be open-minded really helps to initiate discussion on novel topics that you can write as a viewpoint. Consider the audience and identify the relevant topics. Be
Mm-hmm.
concise and focused, and give practical and doable recommendations. Because recommendations, what you give should be, again, as I mentioned before, it should be country contextualized. Because the viewpoint recommendations should not be beyond the country's reach or approach.
Mm-hmm.
If so, I think those viewpoints um, can um, can be very helpful for the readers. So this is all that I would like to suggest at the moment. And in near future, with gaining more experiences with viewpoint, I think I could share more.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amit, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's been an enlightening discussion, and I'm sure our listeners will take away a lot from this episode.
Thank you, Lishasha, and thank you, JNMA, for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
And that's all for today's episode of JNMA Podcast. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this episode. We'll be back with more in depth discussions with medical professionals and researchers. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed. Goodbye.